Caddo Parish Commission is called to order. Roll call, Mr. Spears.
1 moment, please. Baker. Doc.
Here.
Dominic. Present. Jefferson. Mr. Escaday.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Present.
Mr. Lynn.
Present.
Ms. Lynch.
Here.
Ms. McCulloch. Mr. Pearson. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Thibodeau.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam President.
Councilman Lester.
Here.
Councilman Walford.
Here.
Councilman Long.
Present.
Councilman Woolley. Councilman Webb.
Here.
Councilman Shine. And Councilwoman Bowman. Present. Let us please stand for our invocation by Chairman Webb and our pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Cox.
Most grateful, Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this wonderful day that you've given us. Father, we just ask your blessing on each and every person here today. Father, we just ask that you guide and direct us as we talk about the city's master plan. Father, we just ask that you help us in our debate and our talks and discussions, that this will be a better place to live in, and we just thank you for all your many blessings in Jesus' name.
Amen. Everyone will please face the flag and repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Been a while.
Amen.
Been a while.
Just two housekeeping matters. One, if you have a cell phone, we would ask that you would put it on silent or vibrate for the duration of the meeting. And also, if you wish to speak, there are cards that are out in the vestibule. We need you to fill out a card and make sure that Ms. Vita Samuels gets that and she can pass it on to the co-chairs of the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I was informed by our city clerk that the Caddo Parish Commission would like to have a joint meeting with the city council to discuss the master plan, and I was open to that, and I want everybody to take note that we're not sitting on one side of the room and not on the other side, that we all get along real well together. And we enjoyed working with the commission on a few matters. And as everybody knows, we had a master plan visionary meeting down at the convention center here, 2 weeks ago this past, or 1 week ago this past Saturday. Time flies, I can't recall, but there were a few flaws in the way that things were supposed to go, but all in all, I think they had a fairly decent turnout. I wish we could have had more people there, and I don't know what the plans are, our next step to maybe getting together, and hopefully we'll have more and more people come and join and tell us what's on their mind and what they'd like to see this city go into. And I think it's important that the citizens have an input in something of this magnitude. And I know there's a lot of people that feel that things aren't exactly going the way they'd like for them to go, and it's kind of a learning process as we go, and there's always room for improvement in everything we do, and that's where we need your input as well, is what we can do to make this a better process as we continue. Having said that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Lynch.
Well, this is the first meeting of the Shreveport City Council and Caddo Parish Commission in recent history, and maybe perhaps that has ever occurred. I'm only 30 and holding, so it may be a little bit past my time, but as I appreciate it, this is probably the first time that the joint bodies have met together. I'm extremely pleased that we're meeting together today for what I believe is one cause and one purpose, and that's to work for the better of Shreveport and Caddo Parish. Caddo Parish is the fourth largest parish in the state, and Shreveport is our largest municipality. Shreveport citizens comprise 75% of the parish, and the majority of our tax revenues are paid by citizens of the city of Shreveport. Of the 12 elected commissioners, all but one are primarily elected by the citizens of Shreveport. So as you can see, the city of Shreveport and the Caddo Parish are inextricably joined at the hip. This year, the Caddo Parish Commission celebrates its 25th year in existence, having been chartered in 1984. We have evolved into one of the leading governing bodies in the state of Louisiana, and I like to say in the nation. This would have not been possible without the work done by former commissioners, now city council persons, Joyce Bowman, Mike Long, and Chairman Webb. Caddo Parish Commissioners not only serve as co-leaders with the Shreveport City Council and the Caddo Parish School Board, but we're also leaders of other leaders at both the national and state level. 7 of our 12 commissioners serve on national public policy steering committees, 2 hold executive board positions in national advocacy organizations, 2 serve as presidents of state organizations, and 1 is a national subcommittee vice chair. The leadership also extends to our administration, department heads, and employees, who also hold key leadership positions in professional, business, and nonprofit organizations at the local, state, and national level. I'm honored to be serving as president of the Caddo Parish Commission for such a time as this. In the words I saw my councilman come in of Joe Shine, ain't God good? We have been blessed in Shreveport and Caddo Parish. Why am I saying all of this? I'm saying it for 2 reasons. 1, we have no reason for political posturing today. We are a credible governing body, and we're here today for constructive purposes. Secondly, Caddo Parish is the only municipality in the state of Louisiana with a AA+ bond rating, and we take our fiduciary responsibility very seriously. We are joining our honorable colleagues from the city of Shreveport to ensure that the investment of taxpayer resources entrusted to us are used in a manner that is open, transparent, and accountable. The Master Plan Initiative was launched by the elected and appointed officials of the City of Shreveport and the Caddo Parish Commission. This collaborative and cooperative endeavor was unprecedented and had the potential to signal a paradigm shift in planning for the growth, development, and economic vitality of Shreveport and Caddo Parish. Both entities committed $1.2 million in funding for the project, $800,000 from the city and $400,000 from the parish. We know that there have been many plans over the last couple of decades, but this was to be the mother of all plans. We embarked upon this journey with great expectations. It was an ambitious undertaking that will require all hands on deck in order to be successful. But success does not just happen by accident. For any endeavor, there must be clearly identifiable goals and objectives and a plan to achieve them. The plan should have measurable benchmarks, not only to determine if things are going according to plan, but also to provide constructive feedback and assessment. The Metropolitan Planning Commission, under the leadership of Mr. Charles Kirkland and the authority of the Metropolitan Planning Commission Board, are statutorily charged with the oversight of the master plan process. We had a different plan this time for sure, but somehow the process started off much in the same way that all the others had. There is a saying that if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same results. Almost immediately, things got off to a rocky start, which has only been compounded, in my opinion, by a continual calamity of errors, leading up to and including the August 22nd Visioning Forum. These extraordinary and unusual events have significantly lessened our ability to create and maintain the public's trust and confidence in the master plan process, as well as to question whether the current process will result in a quality master plan. Few opportunities have been afforded to address the flawed processes of the master plan, and what input has been received has largely been ignored, circumvented, and dismissed. This unresponsiveness not only to members of these governing bodies, but also to our constituents, by master plan consultants, by MPC staff, is unacceptable. More so, it is unacceptable that the current master plan process is inequitable, geographically, ethnically, racially, and
Madam Chairman,
socioeconomically.
I've got to ask a question. Is this...
This is all, let me finish mine.
No, ma'am, I don't understand. I'm going to call a point of order here.
Okay, I'm almost finished.
I don't care if you're almost finished. I take exception with what you're saying.
Okay,
Let her finish.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman,
And you're,
let her-
You're making a statement that this body,
No, I said my opinion.
make sure it's noted that it's your
I'm reflecting
opinion.
my opinion. Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Chairman Walker.
Hold up a second, Stephanie, Councilman Lister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to make sure who's chairing the meeting, number one. Thank you. And number two, I do think that you are, Madam Chairman, within your rights to make your statement. I think it does say opening comments. We will have plenty of opportunity to dispute or say whatever, but I do think you should at least be able to
Thank you.
get your statement out there before we start chopping.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Chairman, sorry.
This has resulted in gross underrepresentation of key stakeholders in the master plan process. The education community, neighborhood associations, the healthcare community, underserved communities, and Generation Xers. While our respective governing bodies have no internal authority over the master plan process, we do have external funding authority, as well as fiduciary oversight and responsibility. And we will exercise that authority in the fullest extent necessary to ensure that we do not waste any taxpayer money on a flawed master plan process. This was supposed to be an inclusive, citizen-driven process. However, decisions have been made that have politicized the plan instead of citizenized the plan. This specially called joint meeting today is to try to reintegrate the citizen in what is supposed to be a citizen-driven master plan process. This meeting is for you today, the citizens, the public, the citizens of Shreveport and Caddo. We are here to listen to those who want to express their concerns about the master plan process with an eye toward improving it. We need honest and constructive feedback and assessment on how to improve the process so that we can move forward. If you think the master plan has been a great success, I would respectfully suggest that you join us in listening to those who have expressed concerns for opportunities for improvement. I'm going to entertain a motion to allow the public to speak before the bodies.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Lynn, second by Commissioner Cox, without exception. Okay, I have a...
Excuse me. We need discussion and vote. Well,
Without exception. To allow, to suspend the rules.
that may be fine for the commission, Mr. Chairman. For our part, I think we need discussion on the motion.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Madam Chairman, if
You
you...
a little bit. You're going to have a discussion on whether the public can speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Ron,
yeah,
I waived mine.
you waive what?
I don't think that, I think the majority of the council that's sitting here would like to proceed.
Would you
If you
allow
want to vote for us,
comments
we'd
from...
go ahead and vote.
Then I'll call a point of order and let's suspend the rules of council to not vote or have discussion on a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Second.
Oh,
Let's,
Mr. Chairman.
no. Let's cut to, if that's what it takes for us to get to it, let's second. Let's vote the motion so we can suspend the rules, so we can have so we can allow the public to do what
We're
they
going
want
to do a
to do.
hand vote because
That's
there's not
fine.
enough machines. So.
Okay.
Councilman voting.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Okay, that passes.
All right.
Well, Miss April, I'm not sure about that. Okay.
So moved, for Miss April.
Second.
What is it? Dawson? Dawg. You have to.
Dom. Rhymes with bomb. Okay. Yes.
Right? Well, of course, I think we're all waiting here to really get down to the matter of what the problem is. I've heard from many people in the community what they feel might be some of the issues. I have some issues myself. But overall, I have to say that I'm very excited that we're even going to the point where we are. Last Saturday, the 22nd of August, and having 400 citizens come out and share their vision. I thought that was a very powerful moment. A lot of people that I've talked to trying to get them down to that meeting on the 22nd of August were very concerned. Said, we've had these plans before, we've had study after study, plan after plan, the city is not going to change. We do this all the time and nothing comes of it. I want you all to take that into consideration, please, during this discussion. I agree with you, Ms. Lynch. I would like to see more citizen action in here. I think the CAG is a great idea. But how are we ensured that the CAG is actually hearing the opinions and the voice of the citizens? I think it is just slightly flawed. But I'm also wondering, if we want more citizen action, why is it so difficult for us citizens to get the information about these types of meetings? Can we do meetings at a time where it's more convenient for citizens that do work? I actually have a very flexible job. I'm able to come down here. I know everybody's busy, but if we want citizen action, we really do need to take those kind of things into consideration. I think, as I said, there is a lot of apathy in the city regarding what our city government can do and what it does not want to do. I think that if there was more action on both, in all realms of our city government, to work together fairly and honestly, I think the citizens would feel a lot more comfortable. And my last question, I'm just wondering why this meeting is happening today. If there are issues that came up, why did this not happen before we got 400 people down to the convention center on the 22nd of August? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Philip Roseman?
So moved. Second. You want a hand vote on it? Who's sitting tab of the vote? Audience. Lynette.
We suspended the rules to allow business, public comment.
Please.
But
Yes, he's being Joe.
I'm Philip Roseman, 510 Longleaf, zip code 71106. I'm a physician. I am the co-chair of the Community Advisory Group. I speak for the whole group, I think, in expressing our appreciation for you giving us the opportunity to participate in the master plan. We have the same goal as you, build a better Caddo Parish and Shreveport for ourselves, our children and their children. I would like to talk a little bit about how I can see we can citizenize this and how we are going to work as a group to do that. We don't look at ourselves as a group of experts on master plan, nor do we look ourselves as the go-to group. We're not. Our primary goal is to facilitate community involvement. Our theme is a Japanese proverb, none of us is as smart as all of us. At our first meeting, we talked about principles. We used the eponym ACT, accountability, clarity, and transparency. We talked about the dynamics of personal interest and shared destiny, and these are the foundation blocks to guide our work. With that as context, our group proposed at our meeting, even prior to the August 22nd event, to expand or reach out to our community further on the visioning aspect of the master plan. This is not a part of the consultant's plan or the plan of the MPC. It's something we're doing ourselves with our own time and our own resources. We call it Master Plan Speak Out. We'll take the visioning process closer to the people of our community. We're going to hold 9 visioning sessions in the week of September 14th through 17th in each neighborhood high school. It's held mainly for those unable to come on August the 22nd, or people who didn't feel comfortable coming because it was a large group, or maybe people with transportation problems, that it might be easier to participate in locations closer to their home. The curriculum will be the subjects covered in the morning of the August 22nd event. We'll use the same format. Information will be able to be integrated with the data from the Great Expectations Forum easily. Facilitators will be recruited from our group, people that worked in the Saturday event, other community volunteers. The planning work including the communication strategy, is being done by a 10-person task force of the Community Advisory Group. Resources were raised for this community visioning process 2 years ago at the end of Project SB and were not used then. We use them now. Let me get to the Great Expectation event on August 22nd, which I believe is the subject of the meeting or part of it. I've heard the concerns, acknowledged them, and I'll speak to them. But I do have to say that I've heard much more positive than negative from people that were there, even some of my more cynical friends. The results of the survey were 93% good or excellent overall, nearly 90% good or excellent for facilitators. There were 5 surveys that were negative. All of them were from the same table. I presume the very disappointed either didn't fill out an evaluation form or there wasn't a great number of unhappy people, especially since almost no one left a 7-hour event. By any measure, it's a pretty positive evaluation. As far as expectations, I'll honestly tell you that when I heard the expectation was 800 people in Shreveport coming to a whole-day event on Saturday to talk about a master plan, I thought that was fantasy. When 600 people registered to come and nearly 500 did come, I was amazed. 3 years ago, I attended a citywide event at Byrd High School to get community input on a school superintendent search, something very important to our community. The school board committee was lined up on the front row, about 20 people. There were less than that number in the audience to participate in that event. The turnout on August 22nd was phenomenal. Certainly the technology was a disappointment. It was wireless. There was interference. But really, are you really surprised that we had problems with technology? Is there anybody here who hasn't been to a presentation where there's been a technology glitch or slow and left you squirming in your seat? As I said at the conclusion of the event, the experience was certainly different than I expected when I walked in the room. But I really believe the experience was better. More time for conversation with each other. Our group wants to join with you to build a better community in the future. We're dedicated to this effort. As I said earlier, we're putting more work into the master plan visioning process than we were even asked to do. And we believe there are a lot more people who feel the same. But for the master plan initiative to be successful, at some point, at some time, we're going to all need to get in the boat together and start to row in the same direction. And I'm asking that we do that today. This initiative can't be successful with continual stop and start. I'm certain there can never be any real momentum if the whole 12 to 18 months needed to develop a master plan is spent finger-pointing in the blame game. It doesn't build community confidence. Mr. Thompson will pass out a folder, someone will, with the scope of work of our group, our commitment to Shreveport, information on the community speak-out sessions, detailed summary of our meetings, survey results from the August 22nd event, accountability, clarity, and transparency. For all of us, we've got a window of opportunity. Please, let's not pull down the shade. Thank you very much for your attention. Appreciate it. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Demarath.
Hi, I'm Warren Demarath. I teach sociology at Centenary College, and I'm part of a group of citizens called BetterShreveport.org, and we've met for the last 2 years talking about ideas for improving the city, a lot of which are easy and cheap, and it just sort of takes looking around to see what other cities have done and a determination to make it happen, we think, to bring improvement to our city. We're appreciative of this opportunity, of course, for public participation in the master planning process. Some of us were surprised at the late announcement of this particular meeting and confusion about location and all that, but we're glad nonetheless that we've had a chance to be here. A lot of us feel like there's there's really two things, not just one, that we need to do with good master planning. It's not just listening to citizen input. That's sort of obvious, especially in a democratic culture like ours. But if it's just listening to citizen input, it can be a chaotic mass of likes and dislikes with no real guidance, and people talking about things that they want without necessarily knowing what's good for them, what's good for us. We don't necessarily know what Uri Drive will lead to, or what the bypass would lead to, or what I-49 or 20 going through our city would lead to. It's available. Those things are there. They're options. But the people that do know are professional urban planners. And I would strongly recommend, and our group often has talked with them, we have members of them in our group, recommend that we listen to them closely. It's as if the citizenry are the patients, all of us, and residents of Shreveport are the patients, and the pharmacists are the decision makers. You all, the mayor's office, parish commission, but the doctors who know about the medicines that work are the planners, are the people that have done the research, that know what makes some cities rated better places to live than others. And we really recommend that those people are listened to, and that there's a place given in the planning process for them. Larissa Brown, when she spoke at the Visioneering Forum, was very articulate, a number of us thought, with talking about corridors for cars and not for people, and how it's dangerous for people to walk and bike in town, and no real pedestrian spaces for people in the city. Those are important observations that she's come to through research, and she knows that makes a difference in cities. But there's others too, and she's the lead planner for Goody Clancy, but there's others in town that we can take advantage of who know the lay of the land. Sharon Swanson, Caroline Majors are two planners in town that have recently come into being active in these working on these sorts of ideas. And so just simply looking at what's correlated with the quality of life in a city and what's correlated with economic development is important. Things like density. Not sprawl, but density, locating businesses and people and residences in close proximity to one another so they come in contact with one another, and a synergy happens, and energy happens that's good for economic development, businesses, and so on. Walkability and bikeability that puts people in public spaces that's healthy for us and enjoyable, fun for us to get out and get around. That is hard in Shreveport, but we can make it easy simply by cheap things like painting bike lanes, etc. Green space is correlated with the quality of life. And we may have miles and miles of green space ready to open up for this city in the form of our bayous and drainage ditches that we've closed off just for the purpose of flooding once in a while, which we need, but we could alter in a way to make them linear parks, perhaps. All those would be ideas that planners would recommend. Yeah, these are things you can do for your city that are quite practical, quite plausible, and that ought to be looked at based on just research that's out there for us. All right, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Joyce Lawrence.
Good afternoon. My name is Joyce Lawrence. I reside at 4107 Scenic Drive, and I want to first say that I'm here to speak individually, and I say that because I sit as a neighborhood association's representative on the community advisory group. Dr. Roseman has spoke in the collective voice for the group, and I am speaking individually based on observations and my participation in the planning process long before this official process kicked off. The first thing that I'm going to say is that as a citizen, I'm concerned about the cost of the master plan overall. I have called Tyler, Texas. I've talked to one of their planners. I've been on the phones with people who were involved in New Orleans, and what New Orleans and Tyler got out of their money was a whole lot more than than proposed for the city of Shreveport and the parish of Caddo. For $615,000, Tyler got not just a comprehensive master plan, but also a revision of their zoning ordinance. For $2 million, which is close to the 1.7 that the city and parish are paying here, New Orleans got a comprehensive plan and a comprehensive zoning ordinance. I want to say that as a citizen, I will be the first to say that we must have a master plan. I will also say that my experience in a planning process and having read the Citizen's Guide to Planning and also studied the charade process tells me that the committees who are the decision makers for this master plan should, if nothing else, go back and familiarize themselves with the baseline of what a master plan is for. The gentleman who spoke from A Better Shreveport sort of affirms what I have felt as a citizen has gone on, in that we do have more of a technical advisory group that we're calling a citizens advisory group. The participation from the citizens on that committee is, I believe, 8 of the 34 seats, or 6 from the neighborhoods of the 34 seats. And what I would like to say is that it would be ill-conceived if I stood here and say that this city doesn't need a master plan. I, for one, have had a zoning issue in my neighborhood that I am just about to pull my hair out about. There has to be some strengthening of the zoning codes. There has to be some strengthening of the enforcement about that. But this us against them paradigm does not serve any of us well. I don't know how it is that this city believes that it will grow if it continues, whether it's the staff, whether it's committees, whether it's their boards, to present itself when people have divergent views and you invite them to be open and honest, yet you attempt to isolate them or invite them to leave the process. I would like to say that as a citizen, the CAG is not a separate entity in and of itself. The Louisiana statutes describe and outline clearly what a public body is. A citizens advisory group, except that it is an advisory group appointed by the state legislature of this state, is a public body in this state, and as such is subject to the laws of this state. There were meetings that have been had. There are lots of surveys and data circulating that no one has presented to our Citizen Neighborhood Association. When I look at the composition of the Citizen Advisory Group for New Orleans, it appears to me, I don't know how many associations they have, but there was a great representation of the neighborhood associations on their body, when there are 6 on this body. I don't know how to say that more accountability and transparency is needed beyond statements and rhetoric. It's okay to say that you are accountable and that you're open, but then when people raise questions, you begin to circle the wagon. What is that about? I would like to say that I appreciate the opportunity to come here and express my individual thoughts about what the planning process has been. Thank you.
Rogers, Guerrero. I am doing bad on last names today. Guerrero, Geary. Okay.
Yes, I'm Rogers Geary. I live on, what is that street? Roma Drive in Broadmoor, 71105. I left Shreveport 1955. I graduated from Blessed Sacrament School, and I'm just moving back about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. I retired, and moving back to Shreveport to retire and enjoy the rest of my life. I find the old Shreveport that I knew 54 years ago is no longer here. And it's kind of disappointing. Texas Street was a lively and upbeat area. Now I find very little there. Texas Avenue, it's dead. There's nothing going on there anymore. And I don't intend to leave Shreveport, but in this master plan, and I do believe we need a master plan, and I'm for it 100%, I intend to be quite active in it, because Shreveport is my home, before and now, and I want to see it improve again to what it used to be. Thank you.
I have no other cards, and so there are some councilpersons and commissioners that have comments. You all need to push your button. I know Councilman Long has indicated that he wanted to have comments.
Well, I appreciate and understand, the scope of how this project's come together, but in the same breath, I'm kind of amazed at the fact that within the scope of the Goody Clancy contract, that we're not getting any comprehensive zoning ordinances, which kind of, to me, is why bother if we're going to do this master plan if we don't get some coordinated ordinances to go with it that we can then bring into force and then use it as a guiding light. But I guess I don't know if that's a Charles Kirkland question or whoever, but to me, it's like, well, gee, we have to spend another $500,000 to get our ordinances? So that's my question.
Commissioner Escaday?
I just, for the record, I'd like to make my own personal comments. Hopefully we can get whatever issues that individuals have resolved today. I've heard very few complaints thus far. This is a big parish, 300,000 people, and if you have a handful of people at any given time aren't going to like whatever's going on. So I think the consensus out there is for us to finish this plan and do this plan. If there's any big problem here today, I believe it's our fault. We funded this thing, we put the MPC in charge to do this thing, and obviously we didn't give them a clear vision of the criteria and details and explanation of how we wanted it and how inclusive we wanted it. We just threw some money at it and painted a big broad picture, and now we don't like what they're doing, and we're all here fussing about it. I believe that whatever issues individuals have here today, that if we voice them to Mr. Kirkland and his staff, that they'll see that they can get it done. They've proven they get it done in the past, and I hope we can clear it up today and move on with the process and not stall it, because we need to get this thing done. And so I'm all for it, and that's where I'm at.
Councilman Shine?
No, I'll hear Commissioner Cox, and then you come.
He wants me to go all the way around. So I'll start with you.
Okay, okay. I guess I'm a big people's person, and I think for so long in Shreveport we have not had the kind of diversity to come to the top that we need. I think it's good to have a meeting where you will have a lot of people with different ideas. I mean, this is why you have a public meeting. I mean, don't call a public meeting and you want me to come to it and then you don't want to hear my idea, because my idea might be different from yours. Or my idea might cause you some concern. If you don't want to hear my idea, then don't have a meeting. My point is that this is what you need. But as professionals who are handling this meeting, you ought to be able, or we ought to be able to, through all of the confusion, to pull together a consensus. We ought to be skilled enough to be able to do that. And this is what you have to do if you want everybody to buy into what you're doing. I've been on the council for a good little while, and Mike, I'm not going to say for how long, but I've been a part of a community for a long time that our ideas were not heard. In order for Shreveport and Caddo Parish to be the kind of community that we need to be, it's going to be some chaos. It's going to be some confusion. I've been a teacher for a long time, and I see we got some former school board members here who probably hadn't never had a chance to be in the classroom, but if you've been in the classroom, I see a couple of school teachers out there, you will know that sometimes in your classroom, you're going to have some chaos, you're going to have some confusion. But as a professional, you have to be able to tune in on that. Harness all of those ideas and come together with a compromise. And when you start doing that, instead of, I think somebody said we had 400 people down, and I've heard you had 400 people down, and I said, well, I said, you know we had 400 people down? Yeah, Joe, but you had 200 folks down there who work for the city and the parish. So, 400 people might have made somebody happy. I'm going to be true with you. I wish we could have had 4,000 down. I wish we could have had so many people down until they would have been standing on the outside. And this is what we have to do. But we can't do that if we keep saying that, hey, look, we don't want this kind of confusion. We don't want this kind of chaos. We don't want people coming down now unless what you say is going to be in line of what we want. That's not going to happen. We got to welcome those ideas that might be different from our ideas. I got 2 boys at home, and Lord knows that my ideas are so different from theirs until sometimes I wonder if I'm their daddy. That's the truth. I wonder if I'm their daddy. And they're good students out of LSU. But I don't walk out on them, and I don't walk away and say, hey, look, I don't want to hear all this chaos. I have to sit down and listen to them. I have to chip away a little bit. I have to give some, and they have to give some. And Lord knows, I say sometimes, wow, these boys are crazy. What's going to happen to this younger generation? And my mom and dad probably said the same thing about me. But this is what we're going to have to do in this planning process. Sure, there are going to be some folks that's going to come in with some ideas that we never heard of before. But let's have some patience. Let's have some compassion. Let's listen. Out of that chaos, out of all those different ideas, you would be surprised at what you can pull together. Because in order for Shreveport to grow, in order for Caddo Parish, in order for us to be able to compete, whatever instrument we come up with, all of us need to buy into it in order to make it successful. Madam Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Cox?
Well, 2 things are amazing today. One, I'm sitting beside Joe Shine on me. And another one that I agree with some of what he said. You know, if NASA... I do respect you, though.
Thank you. That's the big problem.
He loves you, too. Yeah. Come on now, man. Hey, don't push it. If NASA is in a countdown launch and something goes wrong, they stop that count until they get it done right. Then they lift off. We have the same premise that needs to work here, not only as a city, not only as a parish, but Northwest Louisiana. Longview, Tyler, Marshall, Carthage are all planning right now. Bossier is our sister city. But we're in competition with Bossier. I don't care what anybody else says. We're in competition with Bossier, East Texas, Southern Arkansas, and the middle of our own state, Baton Rouge, Alexander, and Natchitoches. Are we going to die? Are we going to sit back and let a master plan that isn't done right, is done right, somebody's not happy, other people ain't getting
getting to have their say? Are we going to let something like this blow an opportunity for us for the next 20, 40 to 50 years? Are we willing to do what it takes as a community? And when I say this, I'm not talking about just Southern Hills where I represent, because I don't represent just Southern Hills. I represent Caddo Parish. I represent the city of Shreveport. I represent you, the people. How many people were in that meeting from just different areas of the city, different areas of the parish, within that 5-mile radius for this plan? Some parts of this city was not even represented there by a majority of that body. How do we get those people involved? Because this is their plan just as it is all of ours. To have a plan to grow, to succeed, we must start at square one correctly. I said before, a master plan has 3 programs. It must deal with a family life, jobs, and quality of life. Where do we want Caddo Parish? Where do we want Shreveport in that frame? Zoning has always been an issue, whether you're inside the parish or outside the parish or in the city. We've often talked about it for the master plan that we want to perform outside that 5-mile barrier up along the I-49 corridor. If we don't start planning that now, we'll be behind. People need to participate. If you are from one part of this city or one part of the 5-mile radius within this plan, somebody from your neighborhood ought to be taking part. No matter where you are in this city. I don't care whether you're in Sunset Acres, Cedar Grove, Martin Luther King, North Market, somebody needs to be there. Your voice needs to be heard, because after it gets started, we don't know what's going on. They don't care what we think. They're going to do it no matter what. That's wrong. If you don't stand there, it's just like a vote. You don't vote, don't complain. Be a part of the process, and it's up to not only the bodies that are up here today, but it's up to the bodies that are willing to participate. The MPC, the Clancy Group, city, the parish, all parts of the city, parish, need to participate. If we don't, we lose. This plan needs to go forward. I was there all day. And I'll be honest with you, I was talking to my counterparts, other people sitting back in the back, and I was telling them, this is bad. This is not going good. As time went on that day, my mind was changed, because I actually got to start talking to the people at the tables. Okay, the computers didn't work. The computer on my car hadn't worked since I bought it. Okay?
Tell them.
But as, Tell them what Bill was getting?
That was a foreign car now. It was not made in America. Buy you an American-made car, that'll work.
But as time went on that day, and we started talking to the different people, I started talking, I stayed to the very end. And I got to admit, my mind was changed. I was considerably wrong in my evaluation when it first came up as to how it started, how it was in the middle, and how it ended. We got more out of that meeting, I think, in that afternoon than all of the planning or all of the meetings that have happened in the last year and a half. Don't let this die just because opinions get in the way. You people are the ones who are going to mastermind this plan, not us. We are here as your guiding light, in my opinion. Now, this is all my opinion. I'm not going to let Southern Hills die, because we've had our own master plan going on for the last 8 years. Even though no matter how much trouble we got in, we planned for Southern Hills to grow. We refuse to let Southern Hills die. And right now, we're in the best shape that Southern Hills has been in a long time. Do we have South Park Mall? No. Do I like the traffic on Erie Drive? No. Do I like traffic on Mansfield Road? Yeah, it ain't too bad now. But as time went on, we've changed. We've endured. And that so shall the city, and a 5-mile barrier in this plan. And I'm going to do my part, and you do yours. I put it back to the people of the city of Shreveport. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Commissioner Lynn?
I want to thank April and Lauren and Philip and Rogers and Joyce for getting up and talking. And the interesting thing about them talking and the interesting thing about the master planning session that was at Government Plaza was that I know all of those people pretty close. And I knew 85% of the people at the master planning session, and I don't feel that I know 85% of the population of the city of Shreveport and the percentage of the 5-mile radius. And I would like to see what the master plan is going to do to draw in the people that we're not drawing in, the people that are not heard of, the people that don't get up and talk every time an issue is being raised. That is the principal thing that I would like to see happen with that. The concerns that I've had with this master plan have been from the beginning, from the changing of a consultant to us bringing forth issues on the commission. Based on what Councilman Long said, the Parish Commission did ask for the MPC and for Goody Clancy to do zoning, to look at the zoning, to look at the overlay of zoning, to see why it costs the same to develop 10 acres of land on Uri Drive as it does to develop a 1,000 square foot storefront in Allendale or Highland. It was just a few months ago when Nelson was doing this that the MPC came for a zoning fee increase, and the city approved it. The Caddo Parish Commission refused to allow the fee increase, and then we elected to turn it over to the master planners to see what they felt our zoning should be, what type of sliding scale, what ideas do they have. And so we have turned it over to the master planning group, or Goody Clancy. At this point, we adjusted it from Nelson to Goody Clancy to see what they think, and none of that has been brought up to my knowledge. I think that Woody Wilson has also forwarded that information, and we gave that all to everybody involved. I believe that Northwest Louisiana definitely needs a master plan. The session on Saturday, I think that the success of that session on Saturday was based solely on the 200 to 300 citizens that showed up, that sat down at the table, that wrote in longhand what their views were. Never mind the computers, never mind that question number 1 was deleted and that the answer to 2 was actually the answer to 3 and the answer to 3 was actually the answer to 4, that was just a blatant and obvious failure on Goody Clancy. That technology is not that old. It's not that new. That should have worked. And so I thank the citizens that showed up, and I feel that we definitely need to go into the neighborhoods and drag people out of their homes and do whatever it takes to say, get the vote out on what people would like to see Northwest Louisiana look like. I would like to see a collaborative effort. We have all these area cities, like Commissioner Cox brought up, that are working on their master plan, and yes, we're in competition with them, but we're also on a global market. We're in competition with the rest of the planet Earth to increase the quality of life in Northwest Louisiana. Goody Clancy should be collaborating with every single master planning session going on in every single community surrounding this area so that we can pull business in as a whole. There's lots of Shreveporters that live in Texas for tax credit reasons. There's people that live in Arkansas that commute all the way to Shreveport. There's people that live in Webster Parish that commute to Shreveport and Bossier to work. There's people that live in DeSoto and Bienville Parish. This is a Arklatex, and I believe that the master plan should be operated and developed as a Arklatex master plan. as well as the communities. Lauren and I work together with April on a Better Shreveport, and it is very focused on a dense community where automobiles are not used, where you can walk to the grocery store, you can walk to the store, you can use some other means of transportation other than an automobile. Shreveport has been designed around the glory of the automobile, and the simple fact that you can't walk from Kroger's on the corner of on the corner of Uri Drive and 70th Street to the Target on the other side of the street, or to any one of those corners, is a clear sign that planning has not been in the forefront of development in northwest Louisiana, and principally in the Shreveport area over the last several years. And yes, we do need a master plan, and I would very much like to see this go forward. Right now, I think that we need to step back and look and see what we have done to this date. What have we done since we switched from Nellis to Goody Clancy? What have we done with this master plan? How much has this cost? Who has received the money from this? And where are we going to go with it from now? Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Commissioner Bowman, oh, Lord.
That's okay.
Councilwoman Bowman.
Hey, and first let me say good afternoon, and I do so much appreciate everyone that took the time out of their busy schedule to show up for this meeting today. My concern is basically to make sure that it is an open and fair process, that mainly the citizens that I represent as well are a part of the planning. There are areas within my district, for instance, Greenwood Acres subdivision, that had no one at the meeting. There are people in Lakeside, maybe the neighborhood association president was there, the neighborhood association president from Queensburg. But how do you go about reaching the masses? I want to make sure that these folks are not left out of the process, because they have ideas, they have things that they want to see happen where they live. And these areas are not progressing, they're not improving at all, and it's even with the master plan. Somebody's got to bring it to the people. It's fine to have the group, Dr. Roseman, that you have, but to accept constructive, and I wouldn't call it criticism, but to accept what other folks that represent these areas have to say. Representing people that live in disadvantaged areas throughout the city. And so many of the people that I basically observed at the meeting on Saturday were not from my particular area that I represent. And I'm talking to you and everybody in here. I called your name, but you are over there. Sure, you can respond, but believe me.
Not now.
After it's over with.
Right, not now.
I understand that you were given this position, and so was Mr. Aubrey here, and I had questions about how that came about, which I never got good answers to anyway, but I'm just bringing it all out. And as far as the people that I represent, that's who I am most concerned about, that I did not see the representation that should have been there, and I want to make sure that they are not at a disadvantage with this plan. I want to also remind a lot of folks in here that there's a contract with Goody Clancy that states on both sides, 30 days they can pull out, 30 days the city of Shreveport can pull out. If it's not fair and if it's not right, I'll be the first person to start screaming, take it back, and start it over, because it's got to be right. It's got to be fair to every citizen within this city that have to make sure they have the opportunity to participate. I understand that there are plans here and there, but just don't leave these folks out. Thank you.
Councilman Lester.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and other
I'm
members.
not having a problem remembering I'm related down.
No. It's such a refreshing.
we are.
No, it's you're very much a lady. It's a refreshing change of pace that, as I appreciate, in about 3 months we're going to be used to. So you're just helping us get us used to saying Madam Chairwoman. That said, I appreciate the opportunity to say a few comments. First of all, obviously, anytime you have citizens that are willing to partake of any type of process in the middle of the day when people are generally taking their lunch hours or whatever, I think that's a positive. So the citizens that came out certainly are to be congratulated. To me, master plans, like budgets, are about values. And if you're going to get a better product, you want to set the values up front and move forward with those values. But how do you determine what a community's values are without getting the maximum input from the community? It has to be comprehensive. There's no ifs and buts about it. There has to be talk, there has to be dialogue. Not saying that there has not been talk, but there has to be a higher level of it. For many of us, and I can only speak for myself, but I think others have alluded to it, we represent parts of town that generally aren't heard of.
Amen.
And because we represent parts of town that are generally not heard of, our constituents are a little bit more apathetic, less trustworthy, and many times for good reason. I'll give you an example. There is a very well-known law that disturbs me greatly, even to the point of some recent correspondence with our city attorney as recently as this weekend and today. The zoning ordinances are very clear. You cannot have sales of alcohol within a certain distance of churches, neighborhoods, daycare centers, and a whole laundry list of things. Codified. But if you drive in my district down Pier Avenue, you've got 2 liquor stores across the street from each other, right next to an elementary school, right next to what used to be the Y, that's certainly within a certain distance of a church. And I would dare say you could go to Queensboro or Hollywood or Moortown or Cedar Grove and see those same problems. You don't have to trip in front of Rhinos to go to AC Steer. And so when you have those types of scenarios that have been codified over a period of time, when you have a population that you talk about master plan, necessarily they're suspect because, as one of my constituents said, that plan ain't for us. And this was one of my constituents who came. I'm not talking about the ones that I see at the churches and the barbershops and the beauty shops and the grocery stores. This was someone who came. And he pulled me to the side because I was glad to see him because I didn't, Councilwoman Bowman, didn't see a lot of my constituents from places like Allendale. And I was concerned. You know, I know that we announced it at church. I know that we put it on bulletins. There was a lot of conversation. But you did have a number that did show up. But I was concerned that there wasn't enough. And I asked him, and I said, where is everybody? He said, well, Calvin, it's like this. We had some discussion about this. We didn't think that this plan was really serious. Because whenever we talk about plans, we always talk above us, around us. No one ever really talks to us. And there were a lot of people who wanted to come, but this was Saturday. People had funerals, they had family reunions, things of that nature in the summer. So what everybody decided was, I was going to come to see if you guys were legit. So you talk about having 400 people or 800 people. Well, that was the experience that happened with my constituency in Allendale. I'm not dissuaded that that's not the conversation that happened in the Cherokee Park or MLK or some of the other areas that I represent. I would suspect, Joe, you're right, that some people were there. I know that one of the citizens who was a church member of mine that was very active in this process, even to the point of sending an email to certain council members, lives in the Hollywood area, but I don't know that there was a great number of people that were there. So what you need to understand, and when I say you, I'm talking about to the MPC and to the Citizens Advisory Group, the fact that you don't have a lot of people there is not indicative of there's not interest. There's a tremendous amount of distrust. And I would dare say, with good reason. And so for us, as elected officials, we would be derelict in our duty if we didn't continue to re-urge you over and over and over again to try to be more inclusive. Now, how do you get that done? Dr. Roseman, it's the same scenario. How do you get kids and parents to come to PTA meetings? I don't know. But that's something that you cannot throw your hands up in the air and say, well, no one's coming. You have to continue to cajole, to offer, to make it an issue, because it's that important. Because just as it's important for parents to come to schools for the betterment of the kids, it's vitally important that we have, that component from the neighborhoods to make sure that we have a master plan that's reflective of the community. Otherwise, we're going to still have the problems that we have in terms of sprawl. One of the things that I would like to see that happen from this master plan process is, let's break the city and the parish down, and I know there's been some conversation about this, into planning districts. Put someone in charge of a planning area and make them responsible for what happens in that area. Let me tell you, you don't have to be, great planner or someone as successful as some of our economic development folks in town to put a store on Uri Drive and it be successful. That's not impressive. Put a store on Broadway. There you go. Put a store on Hollywood. Put a store on Arkansas. Put a store on Alabama. Put a store on Martin Luther King Drive. Put a store on Easy Street and make that store work. So that, as Matt said, the issue of walkability, look, sometimes it's the issue of walkability because people have the means and they want to walk. Sometimes that walkability is an economic circumstance because people don't have the funds to have certain transportation situations. So, again, that's why a lot of the same concepts that you have discussed in terms of Highland and things of that nature have broad applicability, but you got to make sure that you have those people at the table. So it's not such that we're saying that we are against you. At least I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that it is vitally important that we have more conversation, more dialogue. Whatever efforts that you've done, double them, triple them, quadruple them. Hopefully, meetings like this will get the public and those people that we represent to really know that we really, really are serious about making sure that this process is inclusive. Because if we don't, we'll have just another plan that's for some folks, not all folks. And at the end of the day, there's only one Shreveport and Caddo Parish. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, let me start off by saying I was in no way trying to stop public comments. The comments I was trying to stop were the chairwoman's, because I think using the opening statement to make an attack on the process was wrong. And I think to repeatedly use we and then imply it was her opinion was wrong, and that offended me. And I'm telling you to your face, that offended me. I think the process and the format of this was wrong. It was not in any way intended to limit public opinion. I'm absolutely all for that. But I've been very adamant since this process started that it not be political. I've had that conversation with the mayor. David Aubrey's nodding his head. I've had that conversation with him. I've certainly had it with Dale Collin. I can't see Dr. Roseman, but I've had it with him. I spoke to the entire CAG the first night when you were meeting at Steen Hall and made that point as clear as I could that I didn't want to see any political influence into the master planning process. For a long, long time, plans in Shreveport have been done a little bit different than what we're seeing now. They would be done in a back room. They would decide what the results was going to be. Then they would go find a consultant and pay them to produce this result so that we can say it's our plan. Now, I don't know how many of you have been close to plans in the past, but you know that's true. I see heads nodding out there because it is true. But
that there is also a process for what is being done today. And I'm not sure that we're not politicizing the process by this very meeting. The MPC created an MPC subcommittee. The commission has 2 members, the council has 2 members, help me, Mayor, 1 from the administration, Rick? The administration has a member, I know Randy Lucky attends, so there is a mechanism where each body can get their points known to the MPC. That's why it was created. It meets monthly. Not everyone attends, I will tell you that. I've not missed a meeting, but I have noticed others who sometimes are vocal. Why are you nodding your head, Dale? You've noticed that too, huh? So that is the mechanism that was put into place to let us voice our concerns as either a council or a commission and get it to the MPC, who is the body that's responsible for this master plan. The council cannot cancel a contract. The city has no contract. The contract with Goody Clancy is with the Metropolitan Planning Commission. That's who can make changes, not us. So I think it's important that we use that process. Now, I think Mr. Shine and Mr. Lester have made excellent points about public input. And Mr. Lester, you made the most honest statement when you said, we don't know, you don't know, I don't know how to get the people involved. It's important to them, but we've had editorials in the newspaper. I've heard the mayor make speeches about it. I don't know how we get everyone to think like those of you that are sitting here that it's important. But repetitious, but it is important. We need the input. And I can only hope that groups like Lauren's, groups like Highland Restoration, groups like Ms. Lawrence Western Hills, that groups like that will continue through their representation to get their input known in what they want in a master plan. If they don't do that, then true, the process is flawed. We're not going to get where we're trying to go. But what I would like to see us do, and I'm flipping over all these pages instead of talking so long, so there was some stumbling. The process, I thought, got off very slow. I made those comments at the very first subcommittee meeting, and a number of people echoed them. So, I mean, there was unanimous feeling that the process was moving too slow. Now the process seems to be on track, but we've had some stumbling blocks. And to steal from a country song I heard, let's use those stumbling blocks for stepping stones and keep going and get where we need to go. If it takes a public plea on my part for input, I'll make that plea. Talk about preaching to the choir. The people that will take off during the day and come here because you have an interest, all I can hope is that you will go tell somebody who will tell somebody who will tell somebody, and we get the word out like that. I don't know what else we can do, but I think that the process is underway. Yeah, they had glitches on the electronics. My cell phone won't work in the convention center, so maybe that electronics, maybe there's gremlins in there. I don't know. But I hope that we as two political bodies and the members of the MPC and the administration can keep driving this process to the public, letting them know how important it is, and that we get the public input that we need. I don't know what else to do. I'm like Mr. Lester said, that it's just a question mark. But this is where we as elected officials are going to have to depend on many of you. So some of you that were nodding your head, please go talk to people. Tell them, Lauren, I know you will. I get your emails. Please help us get the public more involved. I visited with Dr. Roseman. I know how committed he is to that. So it's a challenge, but let's hope that working together and using the processes that are set up and the subcommittee and working with the MPC
see we can make it work. Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
I don't think I've heard a single comment that really wasn't for some kind of planning. As some of you know, I sat on the commission, MPC Planning Board for about 10 years, so I'm familiar with some of the problems on zoning and planning. Even though we might have a master plan come up, we'll still have some problems. But really, this master plan that we hope to develop is not for us necessarily, it's for our children and our grandchildren. Some of you know that our city has not grown in 10 years. Guess what? The parish hasn't grown in 10 years either. Well, it's probably not all planning, but it certainly would help if we did have some good planning and some good foresight. From where I sit, we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Not just to do the master plan, but we have some things that God has bestowed upon us, like the oil and gas that we're having now, that's going to change our whole city and our whole parish, some for the worse, but mostly for the best. There's a lot of money flowing around, and you know it and I know it. That's good. We know the things that are happening in Barstow. Hey, that's a big deal, and it's going to be a big deal for years to come. Just think what I-49 is coming through town is going to change our city. Look what I-69 has done for it just in this short period of time. Once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, not only to do the planning, and do the planning for our children and our grandchildren, but do the planning for those who will come and live after us. This first little shot was strike one. That's all. The ball game's not over. Let's put our shoulders to the wheel and make it happen. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Dominique?
I'm the, I guess the one commissioner that is elected in the rural areas that left out.
Okay, Commissioner Thibodeau?
A couple of things and I should be fairly brief, but number one is involvement. That is what everybody is talking about, involvement, and how we're going to get the citizens more involved, and that has been my concern when we've talked about rural planning. How are you going to get everybody involved, because I want to make sure that every citizen's ideas, concerns are taken into account. And it's echoing here with regards to the city of Shreveport and the 5-mile area outside, and goes what to Councilman Lester said. He didn't have the answer, neither did I. I think we're going to have to rely on the professionals, and I think Dr. Roseman has some really good ideas, but we're just going to have to keep working on that to make sure that the citizens are involved. That was the key issue. Everybody's talking about involvement. And number two, the issue just sees communication to me. Maybe lack of communication with the parish, with our administrator, lack of communication with the parish, with MPC, city, same thing. We need to make sure we're communicating with all of our groups and organizations to facilitate this planning, the things that Commissioner Cox said, family, jobs, quality of life. And I can just hammer and continue saying the same thing everybody else is saying, I-49, Barksdale, these things are so important to us. And I don't have the answers, but you know, the Goody Clancy's, they are professionals, and when you have a big project, you are going to have problems. We're just going to have to work through it and do the best we can. And, hopefully, we can move forward.
Commissioner Thibodeau?
I guess I'm like everyone else to some extent. I believe we need planning, but the one thing we've got to have in planning is honesty. And we have not had honesty. It's almost it's almost not the nature of the beast to be honest, completely honest, when we make mistakes in planning. I heard somebody say earlier that they found it was a powerful moment when they went Saturday the 22nd. Well, I too found it to be a powerful moment, but for a totally different reason. I walked in the room and I saw, I like Mr. Lynn, I knew half the people in there. And I knew they worked for the city or the parish, or they were elected officials, or they were part of the Citizens Committee, or they were there because they were facilitators from out of town, or they were there because they were running the computers, or they were there because they were running the meeting. And if all those people had to be taken out of the room, I'll be generous to say 200, but I don't really believe that number. I don't think there were 200 people there. Now, I heard other people talk about, well, there weren't many people from my neighborhood. Well, folks, there weren't many people from any neighborhood there. There just weren't many citizens there, period. And that's why, for me, it was a powerful moment, because it said to me, and I think if that had been something that people really wanted to attend, they would have gone there. But it said to me that for whatever reason, this visioning session was not of great importance to the citizens of Shreveport, for whatever reason. The second is trust. One other thing in honesty. Whenever you do planning for anything, and there's a large group of people who have diverse ideas, you're going to have people that get offended. You're going to have people that get angry. You're going to have people who get upset. But that's, again, the nature of the beast. If none of that happens, then why are we going through the process? Why don't we just let a group of 4 or 5 people write it, and we'll all vote on it and say, yeah, go ahead. That's what it has to be. It has to be chaos to some degree, but organized chaos. The next thing is trust, and I think that's one of the big reasons we didn't have a lot of citizens there. In general, whether it be local, state, national, citizens do not trust their government. Government is always trying to get in their business. Government is always trying to get in their pockets, and government is always trying to tell them what to do. And I think since we're using a formal process, and not just because it's goody class, it could have been any planning group, they have sort of a cookie-cutter approach to planning. They have to. They've got to have a basic place, somewhere to start. There has to be some parameters. But when you come down here, some of that cookie-cutter doesn't fit in. Well, it's going to be the responsibility of the citizens to say, it's not going to work down here, and this is why it won't work. I think that the average person walking the street in Shreveport, well, I'll say that there's a large number. I was on the school board for 16 years. I taught schools for 25 years. If people don't care about their kids, they sure don't care about planning. That's just the way it is. If you've got a large number of people that just are not interested in participating. I don't care what you do. They just don't want to participate. So you've got to find those who are willing, and that's the brains you have to pick. But I think the average person on the street who's willing to participate would probably say, look, give me 5 minutes to really tell you how I feel about everything. Just give me 5 minutes. I don't need to go to 19 meetings. I don't need to have people put stuff up on the wall. Give me 5 minutes. I'll tell you what I like, what I don't like, what I see, what I'd like to see happen in the city. It only takes 5 minutes, that's all. Then we collect all that, and then we can do something with it. No matter how great our planning is, unless we're able to get into the neighborhood and have representatives from the neighborhood and the meetings taking place in the neighborhood, then I don't know that we'll ever have any better participation than we have right now. It just bogs my mind to think of 1.4, 1.7, whatever the number is going to be, $1 million to do this. But I know one thing, I want my name, and my name will be on the commission list or so, I want my name in some 50-pound book that's sitting on a shelf somewhere collecting dust like some of the other planning and reports that have been done in this city and other cities. If we're going to do this, number one, we've got to be honest. If we mess up, we've got to say, man, that didn't work. That was terrible. We've got to do something different. And then do it. And don't try to window dress it. Don't try to go put a coat of paint on the building outside when the inside is rotten and falling down, because that's not honest. Honesty and trust. If we can get two of those, if we can get the citizens to be honest with us, and we be honest with them, and have a little trust in us, then I think we can go a long ways in having a good planning process. But I'm at the point right now where I don't think we have that. And I would hope that whoever, I heard somebody say that the contract is with the MPC. Well, that's fine and wonderful, but if the city and the commission doesn't fund the MPC, then I would think there'll be a letter coming out from the MPC real quick, or from Goody Cleaners to say, we're not doing this for free, folks. So, we're going to shut it down after 30 days. So although MPC, the contract may be with them, the two bodies here are the ones that put out the money for it. So I'm just saying, let's work real hard on being honest, and let's work real hard on building some trust. Then I think there are some other folks in the community, the newspapers, the radio stations, the churches, there's all kind of groups that I think that we can use to reach the citizens who really want to participate and give them that 5 minutes to do so. And for those that don't, they don't. You just can't do anything about it. And I think we waste a lot of time, energy, and money trying to get those people who don't want to participate to participate. That's part of their right as a citizen. If they don't want to participate, they don't have to participate. They may feel that's what I elected you people for. So, that's the two things I'm looking for, I guess, in my whole message: honesty and trust.
Commissioner, you had really, really, really brief comments. Did you have anything else?
I have a very nervous. I agree with Mike Thibodeau. Actually, I agree with everybody up here. Everybody's been saying good stuff. Let's just get the process right and get everybody. Those who want to be involved, get them involved. Those who don't want to be involved, I understand. Let's just keep going. Thank you.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Thank you, Madam President, and also Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to compliment all the citizens that showed up today. It's very good to see. I look out in the audience, I see a lot of people I know, and a lot of citizens that are not only concerned about planning, but your face has always been in the crowd whenever we were trying to make decisions for our community. So it's just good to see you out here again today. Madam President, I really don't know. I've listened very intentionally and carefully to a lot that has been discussed today. I know a lot of talking is taking place and the hour is getting late. A lot of the comments I heard today came from up on the podium, but I do feel like the questions in my mind right now need to come from some people out there in that audience. I'll just be honest with you. I know we pushing 3 o'clock, but I'm concerned when I hear that a process is taking place, and a lot of money is being spent, and there may be some questions of inclusiveness or input. I'm very concerned about that. And I want to hear from those who are actively involved with it, the citizens who are actively involved with this, what's going on. I mean, are we at a point where we need to stop and take a look at what we're doing? I want to hear from you on that. Are we, what is causing the problem with the participation? Do you feel like this is an inclusive process, those of you who are participating in it? If so, tell me why. If you're saying it's not, I'd like to hear from you as to why you're saying it's not. I would never delegate my responsibility as an elected official to any appointed committee, because I feel like I'm here to represent the people, and I think that's where the buck has to stop. And I don't care if it's an appointed committee or otherwise. I don't care if it's a volunteer committee or whatever it is. If you're doing work on behalf of the citizens, and they've elected people to come down here and represent them, because all of them can't come down here. I say that a lot. 15,000 or so people in District 5 can't come down here, but that's what they sent me down here to do. They sent me down here to talk about it and to get some answers to the questions. I don't know what the remainder of the format, for this meeting is about, but I'm just one of those persons, I don't like to hear a whole lot of talking, and you're not taking me anywhere. Where am I at now? I'm telling you what my concerns are. My concerns are, I'm hearing something about a lack of participation, people being left out, a process that's not inclusive. I saw Dr. Roseman jump up when Councilwoman Bowman was talking. I want to hear from some people out there who are doing this. I'm not out there doing it every day, and I commend you for what you're doing. But I want to hear, what's going on and what. I hear some of us up here saying we don't know the answer. Do you know the answer? If you do, I want to hear what it is. Because are we at a stage where we need to take a look at it? And are we at a stage where we need to talk about where do we go from here? All we finna do now, all of us have talked, we finna get up and go back out, and the same thing's going to be going on tomorrow. So I don't know what the remainder of the
Let me be clear, you're asking for some feedback from persons that are familiar with the process, or I guess have participated from the audience?
That's correct, and I don't know...
He's not being literal, he's being, he really wants to hear from some of the persons out here, you're saying.
Yes, ma'am. You said I wasn't being what now?
You're just not saying it just figuratively. You actually want...
Yes, I'm saying that they're here, and they've taken out their time to come down here.
Okay.
And we went around this podium for about the last 45 minutes. I don't know what the format calls for. You all in charge of this format today. But I would like to leave here today feeling like someone has answered a question in my mind. And if we've got a process here where there's a question about inclusiveness, I got a big problem. I just want to hear from somebody assure me that that's not the case. And that, then secondly, where do we go from here? What are we doing here today? What decision did we come here to make today?
You want to hear from David Aubrey?
No. This lady right here has her hand up, and I want, as you come on. Come on, because you haven't spoken. Come so we can hear, make sure we hear you. But one of the things that I said at the beginning was that this meeting was for the citizens. And a lot of the comments that I know that I've heard commissioners and councilpersons say not only reflect their own concerns and reservations, but feedback that they've gotten from emails and phone calls and whatnot from their own constituents, okay? So, yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Melna Conrad. I live at 406 Regency Boulevard. I was present at the meeting that was on the, I think, the 22nd.
Mic down a little bit.
I'm sorry. I was at the meeting that was the date the 22nd.
Yes, ma'am.
I walked in. I was given a ticket by someone at the table. My friend wanted to sit with me, and they said, no, that's not how the process is going to be. It's going to be random. You will be sitting at a table. I was at a table with 8 people from every part of Shreveport. The president of the Lakeside Homeowners Association was there. There was a person from Martin Luther King there. There was a person from Broadmoor there. There was myself. And there were various other people. It was a great experience. Everybody was very honest and open. And I left there thinking, everybody has the same vision I have. They want this to be a better place. And because of that meeting, those people were able to discuss this. Without that meeting, I don't think I would have ever heard from anybody from Shreveport. Granted, there was a few problems with the technology, but that, I think, has to do something with the building. But other than that, whether there was 50 people, 100, or 400, that experience needs to be done more because it was great. It was great, and I don't know why we're here discussing this today because I'm a little confused because I thought the experience was great. We need to have more of those. And those people in that meeting said the same thing. Bring the neighborhoods together. I'm president of my homeowners association. Get all those people together and let them collaborate with some of this. If your citizens can't come, those people are there to represent their neighborhoods. Get them together with all of this. There were some there. Some chose not to come. That was, their prerogative. But I think it was a good experience, and Shreveport needs that.
Commissioner Escudé has an answer in his hand.
I don't have an answer, but I have an idea. I know, why don't we do what we're going to do here next year? I know what's going to happen when the census process is going to start, and we're not going to like the numbers. We're going to find those people. Well, we have enough neighborhood associations and community groups, and if they don't want to come to us, we've got plenty of time to go to them and take this to them when they're meeting on their day. There's plenty enough volunteers, good Clancy, there's plenty of money in the hopper to do that. So we meet in the Allendale Neighborhood Association, the Captain Shreve Neighborhood Association, blah, blah, wherever they meet, take that to them, directly to them at their meetings on their turf. That's how we get to them. Just the same way we're going to go find them and count heads during the census. At that point, if there's no more participation, then so be it. But then we've made the attempt. And the message we need to send to them is, here it is, we need your input, you need to be involved, because once this plan's done, you're going to have to live with it. But for us to sit back and think they're going to come to us, as Calvin Lester said, that's not going to happen. So let's take it to them. And if you guys, if anyone suggests maybe that's the general consensus of this body, and that may be, we can pass a resolution, and that's the instructions we give the MPC and Goody Clancy, and let's be done with it. Thank you.
I'm James Moore, 6025 Buncombe Road. In 1958, I attended some of the first meetings with Gordon Lambert, who was developing Southern Hills. The book for the zoning was about 1/8 of an inch thick. Right now, it exceeds an inch. We had probably 3 or 4 residential zonings. Now we must have a couple of dozen, and it goes on from there. The Urban Lands Institute, as I understand, was here several years ago, and they said that process in Shreveport was too political. Let me tell you an example. We come down before the commission, and either the councilman gets up and speaks for or against the project, or somebody from the commission gets up and speaks for or against. Why don't you stay home and let the planning commission do its work? Stay out of the planning commission meetings. What's happening is, personally, they tell me that they have no objection to the project, but there's 30 people against it, and the commission or the council person speaks for or against the project to get votes. Not because they're for or against it, they just want the votes. So I asked the commission and the council to get people on the commission or the council to stay out of the planning commission meeting. You got to vote later on.
Comments related to the master plan?
I'm commenting on the planning commission process, which is part of the master plan.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Shine, I got the floor. Excuse me just a minute. Go on in.
Control the meeting.
All right. And I'm telling you, you folks, you talk about people not trusting. The reason I don't trust you is because you interfered with the planning commission itself and the staff by you coming down. I've stood in this audience and listened to people say, if you want to get a project in my district, you will come to me first. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate your comments. We're discussing the master plan process.
And I am also.
I understand, but you're dealing with zoning and zoning meetings.
The process is just like he says, nobody trusts because you people interfere with the planning commission.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
One of my constituents. Happy constituents.
Well, Commissioner Jenkins invited me, he waved me up here, so I think your suggestion was wonderful, Vice President. I'm Barbara Gerald. I live at 101 Napoleon Drive, south of LSUS in the Jackson Square subdivision. That was a fabulous suggestion. My response to, do you have suggestions is, as acting pastor of a church, my experience is in any group, there's going to be a small percentage of the people that do most of the work, and those are the ones who most engage. Absolutely, I think we have to it would be negligent on our part if we didn't continue to invite people along the process to stay more engaged and become more engaged. My question really is, I haven't heard anything about the process being stopped, and then I came here today and heard people talking about stopping the process or not stopping the process. I was at the event on the 22nd. My experiences were absolutely positive. The people at both of my tables represented concentrations of areas of the city. There were people that, at one table, there were very definite parts of the city that were not represented, and at another one there was a broader representation. My suggestion and solution is to understand that the process is going to be limited to those who are willing to engage. Find out if the people that were there from Councilman Lester's district who did have experiences there, whether their experiences were positive, whether they did go back and report, and whether those people now want to be engaged. I think Vice President Ashuda's suggestion is a nice way to do that, but do we have to stop the process in order to do that? Or can we continue the process and just maybe slow it down a little? But it seems that if we accept that that's the way that it is in any situation, that there is a percentage that's going to engage and a percentage that won't, we can do all we can along the process to encourage more involvement and build trust. But that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Hold on, Dr. Roseman. What I'm going to do is, because those persons that spoke are persons that we had not heard from before, Commissioner Jenkins, we went to them. You still have the floor. Are you finished?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Could I make a comment to Ms. Gerald, even though she sat down before we go on? I think, I just stuck you a note, and I think that, Barbara, you made a beautiful suggestion for churches. I think we're missing that one. And I think clergy like yourself, newsletters are a beautiful way to get the word out on what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay.
I was about to cut comments off until you got
I want to see you cut Ms. Smith out.
We want to hear from Ms. Smith. She taught me better than that. Yeah. One of my mentors.
Okay.
Friends.
It's just a pleasure to be here. I had planned on not saying a word, but just listening to what's going on here, because I just heard about the meeting Friday, and I said, you know what, I'm coming, because I don't even know what it's all about. I can truly say from day one that we started planning with the master plan. We have tried hard to involve everybody from all agencies for their input. And it's hurting to me when you're talking about how many people were there. If it was just 20 people there, and if their intention was right for a master plan, want to work, you can get a job done. Please, please give us a chance to do what all you're talking about up here today is what we plan to do. Mike, you made a very good point, because I was on that school board superintendent search committee. When we brought it to the Bird High School, please believe me, it was just about 20 people there. When you say take it to the neighborhood, you can't make people come out. You can bring it to their door.
and they still may not come and give any input. I'm saying to you, if all of us would do our job one-on-one, and start knocking on the doors. Now, we talk about the public schools, but look what that guy over there at Linwood. He went out and he knocked on, introduced himself to all. If you get out and do your part one-on-one and say, I need you at Captain Shreve, I need you at Caddo Magnet School when we're talking about a master plan. Can't no one person, I don't care if it's the mayor, city council, what are you, parish commissioner. Get out and do your job. This master plan would be a success. But I'm a living witness. I've been to many meetings, and I begged and I begged. Citizens, you come to PTA. You get involved. They stay where? At where? Home. And all I'm saying, if all of us will really do our job, this master plan will be a success. And that's all I want to say to you all. All right.
Excuse me?
Well,
I don't think so.
Hold on. Excuse me. Hold on now. This is a joint meeting. Council meeting. Dr. Roseman, I'm going to ask that that persons that have not had an opportunity to speak already, which...
That would be perfectly fine, but I think I should have an opportunity to speak and finish.
Well, let me say,
Respectfully.
Dr. Roseman.
Yes.
I'm going to ask if you will allow me to go to Mayor Glover, okay, and give him an opportunity to speak. And this is not going to be the last meeting that the stakeholders have to sit down and discuss.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Point of order.
Point of order.
I believe that you had already promised Dr. Roseman an opportunity to speak. You already told him earlier when he first wanted to speak that he could speak later on.
Okay.
Control the audience.
Thank you. Let me ask Mayor Glover to have words, and then we'll allow you an opportunity. Since I don't remember, I'm getting older. I guess I had forgotten that I had said that. My apologies for that if that's what I said. And so Mayor Glover, I just want to make sure that
Madam President, my comments are short and sweet, and I know that may surprise some of you, but...
What's running off on you?
My hopes for last Saturday, or Saturday the 22nd, was that we would have hit a home run. Well, we didn't hit a home run, but I believe we hit a solid double. We're still in the game. The process has begun. We just need to continue to press forward. Self-correct is necessary, but I'm very happy with where we are and where we're going, and I thank everybody who's been involved up to this point. So at this point, I yield back to you and to Dr. Roseman.
Thank you.
First, let me say I agree totally with what was said. And that's exactly what I said. I'm a little perplexed, basically, by some of the comments. But I'll simply say this. It does have to go as far and deep into this community as it can. Anybody that knows me knows that I have tried to do that in every venue that I've ever been in. But with that said, let me go over again what I told you we're going to do beyond what Judy Clancy's going to do, beyond what the MPC is going to do. Just this group of 34 or so advisory group. We recognize we didn't get into all of the neighborhoods. So we need to take it closer into the neighborhoods. That's why we're holding the same kind of visioning forums in every high school. That means Booker T. Washington, Byrd, Green Oaks, Fair Park, Northwood, Southwood, Woodlawn, Huntington, Captain Shreve, okay? The neighborhood high schools. We're going to hold the morning session of this in those high schools. We are paying people to do neighborhood canvassing. We are trying to get people out to these. We are targeting neighborhood stores, Allendale, Cedar Grove, Caddo Heights, Hollywood, Ingleside, Lakeside, MLK, Moortown, Queensboro, I'll go down the list. We are trying to get people to come. We are. And, you know, this effort on the part of this group, you know, goes beyond what you're paying for, okay, in this effort. So, again, I'm a little perplexed at the comments because what I talked about was that very thing, how to go deeper into the neighborhoods and to do it. And instead of talking about it, we're actually trying to do something about it. I appreciate the meeting. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. You know, this group voted. There were 34. 33 of them voted to do this. 30, and the 34th didn't get a return. So this is a unanimous decision by this group to try to do this. What else we can do, I'm open. You tell me what else to do, okay? And we'll try to do it, all right? I mean, this is not an antagonistic relationship. It is a symbiotic relationship. And what I'm asking is, if people will have, for them to have community confidence, they have to think that their political leadership has confidence too. So, with that said, I appreciate it. We will hold these things September 14th through 17th. I hope you will get your people that live in your districts to come. They are all invited. Nobody's turned away. We're trying to reach out. Thank you very much.
I will entertain.
Move to adjourn.